Welcome back, and we have a good case study here today. This is the BRE case study in Indonesia. This was the largest mining scandal in the history of the mining industry. And this was a situation where a small junior Canadian company said they had discovered a massive gold deposit that would become, eventually could become the largest gold mine in the world. And in fact, they didn't have any gold at all in the mine. And Freeport was in Indonesia at the time, and they were interested in investing in this mine. And we put a due diligence team together, and I was on the due diligence team. I did the environmental and social due diligence for it, which really had nothing to do with the scandal. But I was there, and I got to see what happened, and it's a fascinating kind of piece of history and story. So this shows the location, again, of on the island of Kalimantan. The blue circle in the center there shows the location, very remote location, high rainfall, tropical forest setting, beautiful. So this is a large, complex industrial ecology case study. Dr. Allenby and I put together. It demonstrates the complexities, the environmental, the social, the technical, the political, and all the other dimensions that are involved in the mine. And it shows real ethical issues here, and how this case study, how corruption and greed resulted in $1.6 billion, which vanished almost overnight. And so I like to start with a stock chart, and there's not much of a stock chart to this company. It was a penny ante stock for many years, and then suddenly exponential growth went up, and literally within days it went right back down to zero. So, and here's a timeline. It was March 1993. It was 1 cent a share. It jumped up to $286 a share, and the stock was worthless by June 1997. This was a picture of the exploration camp, nice little exploration camp. We think in hindsight what happened is it was a nice camp. They weren't really finding anything, and so they started salting, they call it salting the samples with gold, just so that they could get the home office to keep the project going. And they didn't want to shut down their nice little operation that they had there. There was a village nearby, and so the exploration geologists that were working there, they liked the camp and they didn't want to leave. So we think originally they started out just salting some samples just to make it look like, keep the camp going. But then one thing led to another, and it really got crazy, out of control. And these are the cast of characters that were involved in the project. John Felderhoff is in the blue shirt in the middle there. He was the chief Canadian geologist, and Michael de Guzman is in the green shirt in the middle next to him, and he was the mastermind, I believe, of the whole scandal, and he's the one who started salting the samples and really got the project out of control. But this was, I took this picture, we were standing right in the heart of the ore body, quote unquote ore body at the time that we took this picture. And then this is just an article of how the BRE hits a snag in Indonesia. And basically what happened is they have a big conference in Canada. It's the geologist exploration, it's the big, once a year, they have this big conference, and everybody gets together. And John Felderhoff was actually given the award at the conference for his outstanding find on this project. And he was given the award, and literally right after he was given the award is when we found out that there was no gold in the operation. Our geologists, we went out, and our drillers and our geologists, what they call twin the holes. They went down next to their 6 most richest holes, and they thought that they were maybe over-reporting by 10% or something, but when the results came back from the Freeport lab that there was no gold at all in the ore, it was a surprise. And I was there on the call when our chief geologist called Jim Bob Moffett, the CEO, and Mr. Moffett said, we need to do it again, to drill 3 more holes. Let's make sure that we've got our facts straight. And they did 3 more holes, and sure enough, they came back all empty as well. And that's when Mr. Moffett called John Felderhoff and told him, get his ass out to Indonesia and show us where the freaking gold is. And And here's a picture of de Guzman getting into this helicopter, and this is the helicopter that he has supposedly jumped out of and committed suicide on his way back out to the operation. We don't think that's what happened. We actually think that the helicopter pilot was a friend of his. Michael de Guzman was the only passenger in the plane. We think he landed him in the estuary, and he probably took a boat back to the Philippines. And we think he's still alive today, even though they found a body. They found half of a body, no dental work, no fingerprints, just the bottom half of a body. And they were saying that that was Michael de Guzman, but there was never any proof that it was really Michael de Guzman. This is Dr. Amar, who did the autopsy on Michael de Guzman, and he's the one who, in his report, published that he could not be sure of the man's identity who was identified. And this is the grave that was built by the de Guzman family in the Philippines. And Michael de Guzman actually had 4 wives. He had one Indonesian wife and 3 Filipino wives. And they all have a lot of money today. So he obviously knew when to sell the stock, and he provided and got money to his family as a result. So he was definitely in on what was going on there. This movie inspired the movie Gold. I don't know if you've seen the movie Gold, but the movie Gold isn't very technically accurate. They have it as an American company. They have a lot of things that aren't quite right in the movie, but anyway, Michael McConaughey is the actor that plays Felderhoff in the movie, and anyway, they did make a movie out of it. Today, there are a lot of people who still think that there's gold there. It's just one of those things in Indonesia. They think that there's a big cover-up, and there really is a big deposit of gold there. And you have a lot of local people who are in there panning. They're using mercury, cyanide. They're using these kinds of chemicals to try to liberate gold and get it. And there's a lot of health issues around these small miners who are working the rivers there, trying to figure out where this gold is actually coming from. But there is no gold in that area. Anyway, so we put together some of these websites. You can see the trailer for the movie. You can see some of the. There's a nice documentary, 3 different documentaries there. But there's a lot of money that was lost. This kind of gives a summary of what happened. We have some of the newspaper articles. Stock. There's a stock there, and what was funny was the shareholder stock. This guy wrapped his stock certificate around a roll of toilet paper, and he said that the toilet paper was actually worth more than his stock. So that's unfortunately, and some of those videos talk about some of the real bad stories of people who lost a lot of money, especially Canadians, it seemed like, who invested late in the project, lost a lot of money. So how it all ended, David Walsh, who was the founder and president, he moved to the Bahamas. He said he was innocent. He had 2 masked gunmen broke into his house and had him turn over all his money. The incident did end peacefully, but 3 weeks later he died. So he's no longer alive. In May, John Felderhoff was charged with insider information, but the trial actually ended in 2007, and he was not guilty. And in fact, nobody was ever convicted of any wrongdoing on the entire project, which is pretty hard to believe. Michael de Guzman was reportedly, he committed suicide from jumping from the helicopter, but many people still think that and I do too, thinks he's alive and he faked his own death. And then there's a link there if you want some more additional information. So that was the case study. It was an interesting experience to be on something like that. And if you're interested, you can do some more research there. Thank you.